You're going to be absolutely floored by this opening preparation shown by Zhansaya Abdumalik, the latest grandmaster in the world of chess from Kazakhstan. She was playing against Praggnanandhaa, and if you know by now, Praggnanandhaa is very well prepared in the openings. He is very well versed with what the new trend is. But on this occasion, Zhansaya caught him unprepared. And it's a very interesting line. It also shows how necessary it is for top players to follow every event that is happening in the world of chess. I'll tell you why. So Pragg played d4, Zhansaya went d5, c4, and Pragg took. It's a Queen's Gambit. Zhansaya took. So it's the Queen's Gambit accepted. Now Pragg went e4, very direct line, b5. This leads to sharp positions, a4, all well known, c6, takes. And now Praggnanandhaa played knight to c3, attacking the pawn on b5. If you push your pawn to b4, then after something like knight b5, the c4 pawn is weak, it will fall, and white is doing very well in such positions. So there have been lines that are played and which is well known by the move a6, knight takes b5, a b5, rook a8, bishop b7, giving up an exchange, but eventually you get the e4 pawn, and also after e6 you get to give a check, and you have good compensation. It's played, but I guess white is doing better if he is well prepared. This time what Zhansaya did is she played her queen. Now, trying to develop your queen early is not great, but this is no longer a normal opening. Pragg moved the same piece again and attacked the queen, which is a very logical move. Queen to b7 was played. Now you're sitting on some kind of time bomb. If you don't do anything, black is just going to play e6, knight f6, bishop b4, castles. Black is going to have a great position. He's also pawn up. She's also pawn up. So bishop f4 was played by Pragg. What could be more natural than that? Now threatening knight c7 check. Okay, Zhansaya, of course, was well prepared, and you can just think, generally in order to grasp what's happening in an opening, try to look at some little tactics. Like knight a6, why does that not work? Right, rook takes a6, queen takes a6, and knight c7 check wins. So you can't play the knight there. So Zhansaya instantly played the move e5. Very strong. Now, what do you do next? Suppose you take with the pawn. That is already not good, because after bishop e6, black is just doing excellently. The bishop is blocked here. You have your bishop out. You can get your knight here. Knight e7. Your pawns are well placed. Black is better here. So she had to take with the Pragg had to take with the bishop, threatening to give a check here. I was wondering, what will now Zhansaya do? And unbelievably, she played her knight to d7. Now, believe it or not, this position has actually occurred in once in correspondence games in 2011, and in over the board games. It's not over the board, it's a hybrid game. It was played between Gelfand and Nguyen in 2021. So in that game, Gelfand played the move knight f3, and I think Zhansaya picked up this idea from that tournament, which is tremendous because that shows how serious she is. This was played on Tornello, and it's just now completely winning for black. In fact, it's a huge advantage. Knight gf6 was played by Nguyen here, and once again you cannot really give a check here. I mean, we'll come to those lines, but what happened in the game I'll show you. Bishop f6, knight f6, knight f6, gf6, and now material is even, but check came in, castles, and black had just complete dominating position with the two bishops and queenside majority. Just bishop g7, h6, a4, and bishop f5, and resigned. Alan Gelfand, who is a very strong GM, he resigned in this position. So knight d7, knight f3 was a bad move. Pragg chose the second best move in the position. He played bishop g3. Now, just to show you what happens if you give a check, the problem is after king d8, you have no time to pick up this rook here. The reason being that I give you a check. Now, your queen, if you block, you lose it. So king e2 is the only move. And now queen takes e4 is a checkmate. That's how tricky it is. King d8, so you can't give a check. So Pragg decided to go back. The better move is bishop f4. The reason being that at any point, if you give a check later, the bishop can drop back. So how does the line work now? This was the game Skjoniczna versus Karasova in 2011, the correspondence game which I was talking about. Knight c7, king d8, took here, and now you don't want to give a check anymore because bishop d2 is very strong. So you have to begin with a check here. And I was thinking to myself, how should white play? And one of the moves that came to my mind was to block here. Believe it or not, this is just totally lost. And the thing is, just look at this. King e2 and rook e8. What you realize from this position is the quality of the pieces that black has. He's a complete rook down, but his knight is coming to g4 or d5. And already this is in trouble. His bishop can jump to b7. Black is just completely winning. So just as an example, knight f3, knight d5, queen b1, and now a nice move, queen f4. There's going to be something that will be sacrificed on e3 and the king will be toasted. But the right move here after queen e4 is not to put the bishop back, but to play knight e2. Knight e2, and now if you give a check, then there is already bishop d2 here, so you don't give a check. You rather play queen takes a8. And I feel that this position needs further testing. It could be that white is better. Let's say knight c3 was played in that correspondence game. Quite an accurate game. But it was, of course, they were using the external help. That's how correspondence games work. Bishop d6. And eventually that game ended in a draw. So bishop f4 is the correct move, but Pragg went bishop g3. And now Zhansaya instantly played knight f6. Great move. We know that knight c7, king d8, you can't pick the rook here, because if you do check, king e2 and mate. So you have to, Pragg had to defend his pawn. He played f3. And here black's move just felt wrong. You know, the spirit of this opening is not rook b8. Once Pragg saw rook b8, he just went knight a6, knight h3. He just completed his development, knight f4, and black is in shambles. You know, the position is in tatters. It's unbelievable that Pragg actually lost later on this game, but it had nothing to do with the opening. White is totally dominating in this position. So what should have Zhansaya done after f3? Well, she has two options. One is bishop b4 check here, which I like. The other one is also directly knight takes e4. Because if you play knight a8, which is a bad move, I just want to show a pretty mating pattern. But first the right line, fe4. If now queen e4, then after bishop e2, white is winning. The point being that check, white has king f1. The king is safe and a nice square for the king. So you need to inconvenience him. You need to play it here so that after king f2, well, we'll reach the similar position in the next variation with bishop b4 check. But just to show you this mating idea, if knight a8, I give a check, king e2, rook e8. The king is in the firing line. Let's say white goes for a check here. Queen takes c7, knight takes c7, and find the mate in 2 here. Check and a mate. How pretty is that? Knight taking the rook on h1. It happens in the studies. It happened here as well. So knight e4 is one way, but bishop b4 check Now king e2, you take. Already black is better here. The king is not well placed on e2. So king f2 makes a lot of sense. I take. And now knight f6. Very good move. Keeping up the pressure. I want to take the pawn here. You really cannot take on a8 because knight e4. Let's say king goes to e2 and queen a8. In this position, although you are rook down, your rook is coming to e8, bishop f5, bg4, queen is well placed. It's just lost. So what white should do is start off with clearing a square for his king, the f1 square. So bishop c4, knight e4, king f1, and after b takes c4, knight a8. There could be a nice draw, knight d2, king f2. You can't go to e2 because of queen g2. So king f2, check back, check, and a draw here could be agreed. But black can also decide to play on with queen takes a8. Who knows what's happening here? Very, very crazy position. So this was the spirit. After f3, you have to think of checks and taking on e4. But rook b8, just in the end, Pragg was winning, but he lost the game. However, the important point to note in this entire video that I have created is the opening idea. Queen b6 first, then luring your opponent, then pushing him back, and then finding this calm move, understanding that actually this rook is not important. What is more important is this check and e4 hanging. All these points make this such a rich opening and a hotbed for new improvements. And I'm sure a lot of people will think about this line in depth and try to come up with new ideas. I would like to congratulate Zhansaya for coming up with this innovative idea, and Praggnanandhaa for figuring it out in 10-minute game, 10 minutes plus 5-second increment, on how he should at least hold the position. He could have brutally been checkmated, but it was very exciting game. And chess is by no means dead. There are many interesting ideas which come out like this. This is Sagar Shah signing off. Bye bye.